Okay guys, here we are, another bike to look at, another 2021 model from Giant. I'm going to do things a little bit differently in this one, just because we're looking at a little bit more of a price point bike. This is the 2021 Giant Talon Zero. So the Talon series of bikes basically goes from $600-ish up to this $1,099 Canadian Talon Zero. In there is a Talon 3, 2, 1, and 0. As you learn with Giants, 0 is always their fanciest model in a lineup. So I'll just go over a few things here, and then I'm going to do a little bit of a comparison to a couple other bikes that would be common sort of comparables if people are shopping for bikes in around this $1,000 price point. So to start with, something new for the Talon is that the same bike is being offered in a 27.5 or a 29. So a Talon Zero can come in a small or medium and 27.5 inch wheels, or in a 29er in medium, large, and extra large. They're all Alex aluminum alloy frames, so Alex is Giant's relatively basic yet still hydroformed, internal cable routing, all that sort of stuff. Of particular note on this bike is it has a Giant branded fork, which is a really nice feature, largely because they're able to use their massive size to offer us a better quality fork at this $1,099 price point than what would typically be offered. So we've got that Giant fork. It's called an SXC 32RL. So it's an air sprung fork with aluminum stanchions and rebound, that's that little red knob down there, and lockout function. So this gives us with the air adjustability for different rider weight, and then after adjusting air pressure we can adjust the rebound, and then after that you get a little bit of while you ride sort of adjustment on that lockout adjustment. These guys, the nice thing as far as we're concerned is you get a little bit more plush feel out of these than the equivalent Suntour fork. And compared to the more common, say, RockShox Judies at this price point, maybe even a touch lighter and stiffer. This is sort of a sparkling blue color on this bike, and we're going to slowly go down to what I think is the highlight of this Talon Zero, and that is Shimano Deore 1x12 drivetrain. When we get to the comparisons, you'll see why this is such a big deal. So that's with a 1051 gear range on there. So compared to your old 3x7, 3x8, 3x9, you pretty much have the gear range of a traditional up to 27 speed bike, but with a single front chainring. Other features on here: Maxxis Recon tires. These are basically a version of this tire that is available just on complete bikes. It's got wire bead, it's not tubeless ready, but it is a 2.4, so in this case we're looking at a 29er, but it would also be a 27.5 by 2.4 on those bikes, and it is a tread that I would say balances nice pathway rolling, that sort of thing, with being a good legitimate off-road tire. We have some Tektro hydraulic disc brakes with a 160 rear rotor and a 180 front rotor, which is pretty good for a bike in this price range. We have a Giant branded saddle on here, a reasonable shape and reasonable amount of padding, a new frame design, which you can see the big thing is just the shape of these chain stays here flares out a little bit more. It does show that you could maybe get away with up to a 2.5 inch size tire on here, so if you're getting into a little bit more off-road riding, that's an instant way that you can make a bike a little bit more capable. This is pretty much a no-name crank set on here, but still with a narrow wide chainring. So a reasonably good looking bit of equipment there. It's a two-piece design, so you can see it's got sort of a bolt clamp style left hand, and it's got external bottom bracket bearings, so that's going to give us a little bit broader support for the bottom bracket, make it stiffer and stronger. And then up on the cockpit end of things, we have 780 millimeter wide handlebars. And in this case, on a size medium, I believe this is a 70 millimeter long stem. And of course, that's a Giant branded stem. Right here, we can see that there is a port in the frame. So on the opposite side here, that's showing where the rear brake housing or brake line and the rear derailleur cable are going. This side here is showing that they've actually made it compatible with a dropper seat post. So that would mean you'd be able to thread your cable in there. It would go down inside the frame. You'd probably have to take the cranks out to route it, but your cable would go up here, and then this is a standard 30.9 diameter seat tube. So it means you can install a standard dropper seat post and a Giant branded one, which they're $250 typically, and then $35 to get that installed. So that is a quick highlight of this bike. Now some of the things when we get to comparing to some of the competitors' bikes. So one of the things I brought up as a competitor was a Specialized Rock Hopper Elite. I chose it. It's a $1,349 bike. I chose it because this bike is more similar to that, much more similar to that compared to the Rock Hopper Sport, which is a $900 bike. So at $1,349, a Specialized Rock Hopper Elite has a Deore 10-speed, not a Deore 12-speed drivetrain. So you're paying $250 more for a Specialized, and you're getting basically 2 grades lower of drivetrain. I'll concede that the Specialized gets a RockShox Judy Air fork on it, but still the same sort of travel, aluminum stanchions, lockout, air, rebound. So this is giving you all of the features. Just because Giant makes this fork, you're getting some savings there. In addition, the Specialized will have Shimano hydraulic disc brakes as opposed to these Tektros. But at this level of bike, I think they're both equivalent in performance, just different name brands. So I think that this is a really good standout in value compared to that bike from Specialized. The other one that I looked up was the Trek Marlin 7. So the Trek Marlin 7 is a $1,039 bike in Canada. So for $60 less, you're with a Deore 10-speed drivetrain again on that guy. And you also get things like this bike actually has, I should have shown you that, but these are Shimano hubs. To be able to put this cassette on with its 10-tooth smallest gear, it actually requires using either a Shimano or one of a couple other quite high-end hubs. And these Shimano hubs are really, really nice quality. When we build up these bikes, we will do hub adjustments and wheel truing just to sort of perfect what's been done at the factory. And these might be for $1,000, $1,100 bike, some of the nicest feeling hubs I've felt. That Trek Marlin at $60 less, you're getting a drivetrain that's a couple notches down. while still being Deore. It's Deore 10 speed. Those formula hubs are likely to be a bit more notchy than what you're getting when you're looking at these Shimano hubs. And then you also get a RockShox Indy coil on a Trek Marlin. So a coil sprung fork means that if you're of very average weight, it might work all right for you, but if you need to adjust the amount of spring on a Trek Marlin 7's Judy coil, that means going out and spending, I think it's like another $50-100 or something like that, to replace the coil spring in your fork for it to match your lighter or heavier than average weight. So not exactly adjustment that's easy or free. Other things to mention between this and the Specialized and the Trek. This bike here has, I would say, the most progressive angles. It's got a 68.5 degree head tube angle compared to the Trek Marlin at 69.5, and the Specialized also at 68.5. The seat tube angle, that's that angle there, and basically how far angled back it is. Steeper, generally better these days. The Trek Marlin is a 73 degree seat tube angle. The Specialized 73.5, and on this bike here it's a 74 degree seat tube angle. So this is taking a little bit more inspiration from what's happening on the performance end of mountain bikes and putting it into an $1,100 bike. So that's my wrap up. I will concede we are Giant dealers. We're not Specialized or Trek dealers, but that's not a coincidence. I've been working in bike shops since the mid-'80s, and when I started a bike shop of my own, one thing I swore is I would only sell bikes if I could sell Giant, because I firmly believe that you get extra value. They're not cutting corners on anything. They're just such a massive manufacturer that they can just make things as good or better at a lower price than many, many other manufacturers, and especially Specialized and Trek being the two mainstream guys out there. They're sort of considered the big three. Before I go, I'm just going to have you look at that. There's a neat detail on these forks. Quite an ingenious way to get a stiff arch without having a bunch of recesses in the back there that all the mud collects in. How's that for your detail of the day? And that is the 2021 Giant Talon Zero, $1,099 in Canada, and it is an excellent value. Available in 27.5 or 29. And I'm going to finish off by just kind of showing you, this is our showroom here. For those who have just been watching videos about bikes, this is the main level of our showroom. And upstairs, where I've been filming previous videos and has been empty, is usually where we have another 250 bikes or so. This is the part where it just looks all pretty. So, if you like this sort of content, please consider subscribing to the channel, like the video, and I'll keep on making this stuff, and hopefully we're giving you information that makes you a better consumer and helps you to choose things that are going to make you the happiest cyclist possible. Thank you.